Dr. Marcus Williams sat in the front row of the Oprah Winfrey Show audience, his perfectly sculpted physique a testament to the transformation empire he had built over the past 8 years. At 32 years old, he had helped over 2.5 million people lose weight, gain muscle, and transform their lives through his online coaching programs, best-selling books, and motivational content. What his followers didn't know was that the man who preached about healthy living was slowly poisoning his own body with steroids, supplements, and a secret eating disorder that had consumed his life for the past 3 years. The letter he had written to Oprah 6 weeks ago had been composed at 4 a.m. after another binge-eating episode, his stomach cramped with pain from consuming thousands of calories in secret, while maintaining his perfect physique through dangerous drugs and extreme measures. How do you explain to someone that you've built your entire career on teaching people to love their bodies while hating your own? How do you admit that the person everyone sees as the epitome of health is actually dying from the inside out? The irony wasn't lost on Marcus that he was sitting in an audience, seeking help for his relationship with food and his body, when millions of people turn to him daily for guidance on those exact issues. His latest transformation program, 30 Days to Your Best Body, had launched just last month and already had won. But Marcus hadn't followed his own program in over 2 years, instead relying on increasingly dangerous shortcuts to maintain the image his brand required. Today's show theme was When Wellness Becomes Toxic, and Oprah was discussing the dark side of the fitness industry, the pressure to maintain perfect bodies, and the crisis that occurs when health coaches lose their own health. Marcus had been invited as part of the audience after the show's producers had been moved by his letter about the hidden struggles of fitness professionals, though they didn't know the full extent of his influence or the depth of his personal crisis. But sitting there, listening to Oprah talk about authentic wellness and the difference between health and appearance, Marcus felt like a walking contradiction. How could he discuss real health when his own body was a carefully maintained lie? How could he admit to struggling when millions of people depended on him to be the picture of perfect health? He thought about his morning routine, injecting testosterone and growth hormone before his workout, taking diuretics to maintain his lean appearance, filming motivational content about natural transformation, while his body ran on chemicals, staging "What I Eat in a Day" videos that bore no resemblance to his actual eating patterns of restriction, followed by massive binges. The moment that changed everything came when Oprah asked the audience a question that seemed to slice straight through Marcus's carefully maintained facade. How many of you work in the wellness industry, but struggle with your own wellness? How many of you have become so focused on looking healthy that you've forgotten what being healthy actually feels like? Marcus's hand went up before he could stop himself, and immediately he felt the familiar anxiety that came with any moment he wasn't controlling his image. But something about Oprah's presence, about being in a space where authenticity was valued over aesthetics, made him keep his hand raised. Oprah noticed the obviously fit man in the front row, the kind of physique that suggested either genetics or serious dedication to fitness. But more importantly, she noticed something in his eyes that didn't match his physical appearance, a hollowness that suggested the body and mind were not in harmony. She walked over to Marcus's row with that intuitive grace that had made her America's most trusted voice on health and wellness, understanding somehow that this man's story would challenge every assumption about what fitness really meant. "What's your name, honey?" Oprah asked, settling into a chair that had been brought over, sensing that this conversation would require considerable courage from both of them. "Dr. Marcus Williams," he replied, his voice carrying the confident authority of someone who had given thousands of interviews, appeared on countless fitness shows, and built a brand around physical transformation. "Dr. Williams, tell us what you do," Oprah said, though his obvious fitness level suggested he was in the health and wellness space. "I'm a nutrition coach and fitness expert," Marcus replied, which was both completely accurate and completely inadequate to describe the empire he had built. "I have online coaching programs that have helped over 2.5 million people lose weight and transform their bodies. I've written 3 best-selling books about natural fitness and healthy living. The audience reacted with recognition and admiration. Several people nodded, and a few whispered to each other. They knew who he was, had probably followed his programs or read his books. 2.5 million people, Oprah repeated slowly. That's incredible impact in the health space. You must feel a tremendous sense of pride, knowing you've helped so many people transform their lives. I should, Marcus replied, but his voice carried no satisfaction, no joy, no sense of fulfillment in what should have been life-changing work. I should feel proud of helping people become healthier. But I don't. The studio was beginning to understand that they were about to hear something unexpected, not a celebration of fitness success, but an examination of its hidden costs. Tell us why, Oprah said gently, recognizing the signs of someone who had been carrying a heavy burden unknown. Marcus looked around the studio, at faces that included some of his own clients and followers, people who had come to him for guidance on health and fitness. For 8 years he had been the expert with answers, the man who never seemed to struggle with food or body image. Because everything I teach is built on a lie, Marcus said, and the words seemed to tear something inside him as he spoke them. Because I've helped millions of people develop healthy relationships with food and exercise, while I've completely destroyed my own. Because the body everyone aspires to have is maintained through methods I would never recommend to my clients. The audience was beginning to grasp the magnitude of what he was describing. This wasn't about having cheat days or struggling with motivation. This was about complete disconnection between public message and private reality. What do you mean when you say your body is maintained through methods you wouldn't recommend? Oprah asked, understanding that specifics would help people understand the depth of his crisis. Marcus was quiet for a moment, preparing to reveal secrets he had guarded for years. I inject testosterone and growth hormone twice a week, he said, his voice steady despite the bombshell he was dropping. I take diuretics to maintain low body fat. I use stimulants and appetite suppressants to control my eating. None of this is natural, none of it is healthy, and none of it is anything I would ever tell my clients to do. The studio fell completely silent, understanding that they were hearing about the systematic destruction of health in pursuit of the appearance of health. How long have you been using these substances? Oprah asked, her voice carrying genuine concern. 3 years, Marcus replied. It started gradually, just a little testosterone to help with recovery, then growth hormone to maintain muscle mass as I got older. But it escalated as the pressure to maintain my image increased. Now I'm chemically dependent on substances that are slowly destroying my liver, my heart, my hormone system. The audience was stunned, witnessing the confession of someone whose profession was built on natural health, and whose reality was anything but. What about your relationship with food? Oprah asked. You teach people about nutrition. How is your own eating? Marcus laughed, but it was a sound without humor, filled with bitter irony and self-recognition. I have severe binge eating disorder, he said, the words feeling foreign even as he spoke them. I'll go days eating nothing but protein shakes and supplements to maintain my lean appearance, then binge eat thousands of calories in secret. I've eaten entire pizzas, pints of ice cream, bags of chips, all while teaching people about portion control and mindful eating. His voice was growing stronger as he continued, as if finally speaking these truths was giving him permission to feel the full weight of his deception. Last week I filmed a video about how to stop emotional eating while having bruises on my stomach from insulin injections I was using to process the massive amounts of food I was consuming in private, he said. I've turned my body into a chemistry experiment while preaching about natural health. Oprah leaned forward, understanding that this conversation had moved far beyond fitness into something much more fundamental about authenticity and the pressure to maintain impossible standards. Marcus, she said, when did you realize that you had lost your way? The question hit Marcus like a physical force, making him confront the moment when his pursuit of helping others had become self-destruction. 2 months ago, he said, his voice breaking slightly. I was in the hospital for chest cases, side effects from the stimulants I was taking. While I was lying there, hooked up to monitors, I got a message from a client thanking me for saving her life through my nutrition program. He paused, the irony almost too painful to articulate. She said my teachings about self-love and body acceptance had helped her recover from an eating disorder. He continued, I was reading her message while doctors were checking my heart for damage from the very behaviors I was helping her overcome. The studio was completely silent now, witnessing the complete breakdown of someone whose life had become a paradox. What do your clients think they're getting when they follow your programs? Oprah asked. They think they're getting natural transformation methods, Marcus replied immediately. They think they're learning sustainable, healthy approaches to fitness and nutrition. They think they're following the same protocols that gave me my physique. But that's not true, Oprah pressed. Not even close, Marcus said. My physique is 70% drugs and supplements, 20% genetics, and maybe 10% the natural methods I teach. I'm selling them a fantasy based on results I achieved through means I'm hiding from them. That's when something extraordinary began to happen. From the audience, a voice called out that seemed to change the entire energy of the room. Dr. Williams? Is that really Dr. Marcus Williams? The camera swung toward the voice, revealing a middle-aged woman who was standing and staring at Marcus with recognition and overwhelming gratitude. Yes, Marcus replied, confused but recognizing something familiar in her expression. I'm Jennifer Thompson, the woman said, beginning to move toward the front of the studio. Your 90-day transformation program saved my life 2 years ago. I lost 80 pounds and completely changed my relationship with food. Marcus's eyes widened as he remembered Jennifer, one of his most successful transformation stories, someone whose before and after photos he had featured prominently in his marketing. Jennifer, Marcus said, standing instinctively as his former client approached. How are you? Are you still maintaining your results? I'm thriving because of what you taught me, Jennifer said, reaching the interview area with tears in her eyes. But Dr. Williams, it wasn't your perfect body that helped me. It was your understanding of struggle, your knowledge of what it feels like to have a complicated relationship with food. The reunion that followed was captured by every camera in the studio, but no technology could adequately record the magnitude of what was happening. A fitness expert was being confronted by the living proof that his knowledge, not his appearance, was what created transformation. Dr. Williams, Jennifer continued, the videos that helped me most weren't the ones where you look perfect. They were the ones where you talked about overcoming challenges, about the mental side of fitness, about learning to love yourself through the process. But the testimonials were just beginning. From another section of the audience, a young man stood up. Dr. Williams, I'm David Rodriguez. Your nutrition course helped me recover from exercise addiction and learn to eat for health instead of appearance, he said, walking toward the front. You taught me that fitness should enhance life, not consume it. Then a middle-aged man. I'm Robert Chen, and your mindset training helped me overcome 30 years of yo-yo dieting. You showed me that sustainable change comes from the inside out. One by one, former clients throughout the audience began standing up, sharing how Marcus's programs had changed their lives. But instead of praising his perfect physique, they were celebrating his understanding of struggle, his knowledge of the psychology behind transformation, his ability to meet them where they were. The studio audience watched in amazement as more than a dozen people made their way toward the front, each one representing someone whose life had been changed not by Marcus's appearance, but by his genuine knowledge and understanding of health and wellness. Dr. Williams, said a woman named Patricia, when I started your program, I was 300 pounds and had given up on myself. You told me that transformation wasn't about looking like you. It was about becoming the healthiest version of myself. That saved my life. David Rodriguez spoke next. Dr. Williams, you taught me that real fitness isn't about having a perfect body. It's about having a body that supports the life you want to live. You helped me understand that health and appearance aren't the same thing. The middle-aged man, Robert added his voice. Dr. Williams, the most important thing you taught me wasn't about nutrition or exercise. It was about self-compassion. You said that beating yourself up about your body never leads to lasting change. That wisdom came from experience, not from perfection. Oprah watched in amazement as her studio transformed into something unprecedented. A gathering of people who had been transformed not by someone's perfect appearance, but by their deep understanding of the struggles they had experienced themselves. Marcus, Oprah said, do you see what's happening here? These people weren't helped by your perfect body or your pharmaceutical enhancement. They were helped by your knowledge, your understanding, your ability to meet them in their struggles. Jennifer Thompson took charge with the natural leadership of someone who understood the weight of gratitude. Dr. Williams, she said, you taught all of us that true transformation starts with self-acceptance, not self-hatred. You taught us that health is about feeling good, not just looking good. You taught us that sustainable change takes time and patience. She paused, understanding the weight of what she was about to say. Now it's time for you to believe what you taught us, Jennifer continued. It's time for you to treat your own body with the same compassion and respect you taught us to have for ours. The studio audience rose to their feet in applause that wasn't just appreciation for a touching moment, but a collective demand that Marcus apply to himself the same standards of health and self-care he applied to his clients. David stepped forward with a proposal that would change everything. Dr. Williams, we want to support you through your recovery the way you supported us through our transformations. We want to show you what real health looks like when it's not performed for cameras. We want to remind you that your worth isn't measured by your body fat percentage or your muscle mass, added Patricia. It's measured by the lives you've touched, the knowledge you've shared, the genuine care you've shown for our well-being. Robert, speaking with the authority of someone who had overcome decades of body image issues, delivered the final argument. Dr. Williams, you've taught thousands of people to love their bodies. Now let us teach you to love yours. Not for how it looks, but for what it can do when it's truly healthy. Oprah turned back to Marcus, who was now surrounded by former clients, offering to walk with him through the same journey toward authentic health that he had guided them through. Marcus, she said, what do you say to these people whose lives you've transformed, who are now asking you to let them help transform yours? Marcus looked around at the faces surrounding him, clients he had helped, lives he had changed, people who existed in better health because he had been willing to share his knowledge despite his own struggles. I say that I've been afraid of the wrong thing, Marcus said, his voice growing stronger with each word. I've been afraid that admitting my struggles would make me less effective as a coach, when really, hiding my struggles is what's made me ineffective as a human being. He turned to face the camera directly, speaking not just to the studio audience, but to every fitness professional watching, who might be struggling with similar issues. I say that real fitness isn't about having a perfect body, he continued, his voice carrying the conviction of someone who was remembering why he became a health coach in the first place. It's about having a healthy relationship with your body, with food, with exercise, with yourself. I've been so focused on looking healthy that I forgot what being healthy actually means. The studio audience erupted in applause. But more than that, it erupted in relief, the collective sigh of people who had watched someone they admired choose authenticity over image, health over appearance. The show continued for another 30 minutes, with former clients sharing specific memories of how Marcus's knowledge and understanding had helped them develop healthier relationships with their bodies. They talked about the way he had emphasized mental health alongside physical health, how he had taught them to view fitness as self-care rather than punishment. But the most powerful moment came when Oprah asked Marcus what he was going to do differently. I'm taking a break from coaching to focus on my own recovery, Marcus announced, making a decision in real time that would transform his career and his health. I'm going to detox from all the substances I've been using, work with professionals to address my eating disorder, and learn what it actually means to be healthy rather than just to look healthy. He looked at his former clients, who were beaming with pride and relief. "And when I do return to coaching," he continued, "it's going to be different. It's going to be honest. It's going to include the struggles and the setbacks and the times when I don't have answers, because that's what real health looks like." Jennifer squeezed his hand. "Dr. Williams, the most helpful thing you ever told me was that progress isn't linear, that setbacks are part of the journey. Now you get to practice what you preached." "Yes," Marcus said, feeling lighter than he had in years. "Now I get to learn what I've been teaching. That health is about how you feel, not how you look. That taking care of yourself isn't vanity, it's necessity. That asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom." The episode ended with Marcus surrounded by his former clients, all of them committed to supporting him through his journey toward authentic health, just as he had supported them through theirs. The show aired 8 weeks later, and the response was unprecedented. Real fitness became a trending hashtag worldwide. Hundreds of fitness influencers began sharing more honest content about their struggles and imperfections. Organizations dedicated to eating disorder recovery reported surges in fitness professionals seeking help. But perhaps the most meaningful response came from Marcus himself. 6 months after the show aired, he posted his first piece of content since the taping, not a perfect transformation photo, but a simple video of himself cooking a meal and talking about learning to eat for nourishment rather than image. "Dear Oprah," he wrote in a letter 4 months later, "I wanted you to know that learning to be healthy instead of just looking healthy has been the most challenging and rewarding journey of my life. My body is softer now, less defined, but it's actually healthy for the first time in years." He described how the experience had transformed not just his relationship with his body, but his understanding of what it meant to help others achieve lasting wellness. "Most importantly," Marcus wrote, "I've learned that the best fitness coaches aren't the ones with the most perfect bodies. They're the ones who understand struggle, who've done the work of healing their own relationship with health, who can guide others not from a place of superiority, but from a place of shared humanity." A year later, Marcus was featured in a follow-up episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show. He appeared not as the perfectly sculpted fitness guru he had been, but as a healthier, more authentic version of himself. Still fit, but naturally so. "The beautiful thing about getting off steroids and addressing my eating disorder," Marcus told Oprah during his return visit, "is that I finally learned what my natural body actually looks like and feels like. I learned that I'm enough without chemical enhancement." He had started a new kind of coaching program focused on sustainable health rather than dramatic transformation, working closely with mental health professionals and eating disorder specialists. Jennifer, David, Robert, and several others from that original show had become collaborators in this work. "What Dr. Williams taught us," Jennifer said during the follow-up show, "is that the most powerful transformation happens when you stop trying to become someone else and start trying to become the healthiest version of yourself." 2 years later, Dr. Marcus Williams continues working as a health coach, but his approach has transformed completely. Instead of promising dramatic physical changes, he focuses on helping people develop sustainable, healthy relationships with food and exercise. "I learned that influence without authenticity is just manipulation," Marcus reflects. "That helping people achieve unsustainable results based on methods you're hiding from them isn't help, it's harm." His social media now includes regular posts about the mental health aspects of fitness, the importance of rest and recovery, and the reality that health comes in many different body types. He's become an advocate for transparency in the fitness industry, and for better support for fitness professionals struggling with body image and eating disorders. The man who once built his brand on appearing superhuman has learned that his greatest strength lies in being authentically human. "I thought my job was to be the perfect example of health," Marcus says, looking back on his journey. "But I learned that my real job is to be an honest guide for people who are trying to figure out what health means for them. Because sometimes the most powerful stories aren't about people who achieve perfection, but about people who learn to embrace imperfection." Sometimes the best teachers are the ones who've struggled with exactly what they're teaching. And sometimes the most transformative thing a fitness expert can do is admit that real health isn't about looking perfect, it's about feeling whole. Dr. Marcus Williams learned that lesson in a television studio, surrounded by people whose lives he had changed not through his perfect appearance, but through his imperfect humanity. And in learning to heal himself, he discovered that the most powerful transformation he could offer others wasn't a better body, it was a better relationship with the body they already had.